was pretty malicious. I think presently I would hope that the idea behind them is, I mean, that their execution is bad, but like to the idea is that people can live with fewer taxes, and they have a better chance to get ahead.
It's
but
supposed
only
to
if
be
they
to help them, right?
Yeah. That's the idea. And again, this is the like the 98% white government saying that we are trying to help you and we know the best way to do that.
Is this?
And
like there was that thing a few years ago, wasn't there, where they where like schools on the reserves weren't doing that good. So then they were like, oh, we'll send them to better schools in these white areas, or in the Canadian areas, and then they send them off to these schools where like they're not allowed to speak any language other than what's spoken there. They're not allowed to like do their hair in particular ways. They basically have to forget all. So
basically, assimilate if you want to go to.
This is the Canadian residential school system that you're talking about. This is the last one was closed actually very late in like 1980, but it was a big thing through the 20th century. And like, this is the basically the systematic destruction of an entire culture, trying to like beat the Indian out of that's not an official term anymore, but to beat the Indian out of the Indian, right?
Yeah.
So and then now it's like, what do we do about the generations who have been destroyed by this? Maybe we throw money at it, which I don't know, doesn't really help very often.
And all the other stuff.
Anybody else?
So I think, well, specifically in South Africa, like a lot of white people are there saying that there's reverse racism, and like that lady explained earlier, it's like the black employment empowerment and affirmative action is not taking anything away from white people. It is just actually, and we spoke about this, like, if you look at someone's name, if you've got two resumes in front of you and you say a black person's name and a white person's name, that you're not just giving preference to the one person and not to the other, so that everyone has a similar opportunity. But and there's also that video clip about privilege where, if both parents are still alive and together take 2 steps forward, or whatever,
The race.
The race.
Yeah. Well, it speaks about privilege, but
It's
obviously, it's not just in terms of races, And I think if we look at South Africa, like, I'm very idealistic, and for me, the ideal would be if we can get kids on the same level before they go to grade 1, before they even start school, to get all kids on the same level, and then from there on to also give them all the same opportunities, because otherwise, like, it won't, like, there's still going to be inequality and there's still going to be these issues. And like, for some people saying there is no racism or there's reverse racism, I think there's a lot of misconception about it. And apartheid was for what, like 50 years? 40 something, almost 50 years. Like, it will take much more than 50 years to fix that. You can't just like, 20 years later, it's not fixed yet. Like,
it's gonna take time.
So I think for me, the biggest issue in our country right now in regards to racism is the lack of, is it like empathy or understanding of white people to what apartheid did to the black person. And it's that I don't know if it's a lack of understanding or this whole thing, but it wasn't me, I wasn't there. And I'm like, I get that you wasn't there, I wasn't there either, but I still have the scars and you're still reaping from it.
They're benefiting from
from all of that, but you don't see that because you feel like I wasn't there. I don't understand why black people always gotta be on this.
Just get over it. Just
get over it. And I think if I mean, what happened has happened, but if we don't sit down and have conversations like this or get to an understanding where if things like BEE are not taking from you, you need to understand that certain people were deprived of just basic necessities, and it's going to take them years to get there, and at some point you're going to need to stay at 10 and I need to climb up to get
to your level,
and then we can move on together from 10 to the next. But if you see me climbing up as taking from you.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
understanding the fact that I'm not taking. I'm just trying to be where you're
Yep.
at, and
Yeah.
you've been there for goodness centuries, and I'm just trying to get there.
Yeah.
And so if we get that understanding, I think, that's for me, that's the issue, and that's why people are so angry and so mad, because we are not understood.
And I think a lot of that could be rectified through education, like that book you were telling us about. Why I don't talk to
white people about race.
I learned so much about the history in Britain, about like the slave trade, and like how we were so largely responsible for a lot that went on, and also it explained where a lot of our a lot of black people came from, and how they were so horribly treated, and then there was the whole Windrush thing happened. It was so funny because the whole thing happened in Britain recently, and I was reading about it.
I just watched
and I was just like, oh my god.
And for those who don't know, Windrush is basically right now. Do you want to explain it?
No,
Since it's your
do
country.
it.
It basically, what was it? Back in the 70s or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
70s,
The 70s, Britain decided to bring over 500,000 of the people from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So black people from the Caribbeans to help rebuild Britain after World War II. So maybe not the 70s. It was after World War II. Whenever World War II is, guys.
50s.
There we go. Thank you. So come back, build Britain up, and we'll take care of you. You come back to the motherland, and we'll take care of you.
We'll give
you'll
you
be
citizenship. You'll be a British citizen. That was what was promised.
Fully.
To
That
them.
was promised to them. They are now trying to find a way to take them out, to get
They
rid
like-
of their.
they
They're
like
not giving them
lost
the
their-
citizenship.
Yeah.
Yes, they lost their documentations, so therefore there's a lot with no British.
So I mean, they just lost the papers that.
They're like, oh,
Now
it was
that
your
you're done.
dad, your great grandfather, your grandfather. Oh, we don't have any records of your grandfather coming over. So they've lost it. So now there's a whole group of people who are having issues getting their British citizenship that they were promised after helping Britain rebuild.
And these are
How
people
many
that have lived in our
generations?
country for like decades.
Decades
They've paid
now.
taxes. They've started families
Decades.
there, and now they're worrying about being sent home to a place which is not even their home
Exactly.
anymore. And it was
Exactly.
just shameful. It's
And
disgusting.
like, in that book, she also talks about, I think it was Indian people and people from other countries that they were said they would be liberated if they came to fight in the war.
Yeah.
And then
Same
also just like
Same thing.
not following through on
And
it.
Britain has done a deportation, not the recent one, but some decades ago they did a deportation. They were having issues. They were having race tensions, and they decided to ease the race tension. We're just going to ship a good chunk of black people back to the Caribbean to ease race tensions. Not get people more educated, not tell them more about what's going on, but they just shipped just a good chunk of them back to the Caribbean.
And like the thing is, lots of people don't know this. We're not being
Oh,
educated.
no.
But
yeah, that's
the
big
thing.
problem.
And that's
You have
what
to
Reni,
dig for it.
yeah,
We have to
that's what
teach.
Reni Eddo said, is that she's like, I feel like I was, misled, like forced to be ignorant. Like it's put so behind that it's like I think America's racial issues are so big. Every other country gets to hide behind them and be like, we're not America though, look. We're so much better. Yeah, and then, exactly.
This is like,
But the thing with America is they're open about it.
Oh, yeah.
So if countries were
trust,
open
they're
about
just,
it,
I feel like countries are open about it. It's just America's way more open. And so therefore, this is what you get. Because at the end of the day, it's not like things are not happening in these, like for example, this Windrush. Windrush. This is going on. It's very blatant. It's quite loud in Britain. It ain't being publicized. A lot of people don't know about this thing, that a lot of Caribbeans have just lost their chance of citizenship to a country that this is the only country they know. It's just little things like that where it's like when people are like race doesn't exist. It definitely exists. It definitely exists.
Do you remember another thing? There was that white guy, like I don't know if he's from America or Britain, I can't remember, but there was a black guy who did an interview with him, and then this white guy was saying, we gave black people a better opportunity than they would have had in Africa by bringing them over, right? And then I think we were talking about it. It's like you take the strongest people from those African countries, so you're essentially leaving.
You're draining that country.
Yeah, That's my foot.
Sorry.
That man likes the footsie.
That was the cat. Had nothing to do with me.
Anyway, so then I'm like, are you serious right now? You rip families apart and you think that's okay?
I'm helping you.
Like, and I'm always like, if the roles are reversed, you would not be okay with this at all. So
it's like agreeing with someone saying that the Holocaust was actually the Jews called it off on themselves, and that's a good thing. That's basically another comparison of
what's
I've never even heard that one.
Oh, this is.
There's even people who say the Holocaust never happened. Which is amazing to me.
This is some government's line is they invade like provinces that they control, and they say it's because they're helping them. Right? Claim it's because they're helping them.
Yeah,
right?
And it's not.
Is
I mean, it's the same thing with South Africa, where it's because we were uncivilized.
Yes.
The only thing uncivilized was them bringing that gun. If that gun was not there, that would have actually went down. It's just gun had more power, and it's all about power, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Right, we could go the other way in America, where the police are there to keep you safe.
Yep.
And like the first time I really felt racism was in high school and just having parties on the weekend. And every time people from high school had a party, the cops got called.
Yep.
Every single time. But then I'd have parties on the north side of town with all the rich white school kids, and those parties never got busted.
Yeah.
And they had more drugs, more alcohol, more sex, more everything was going down. Never got busted once. But we have a goddamn party every time. Cops are coming. Yeah. We're hanging out in the parking lot, and we have helicopters putting their lights on us, and we're like, why?
What's going on?
It's just a bunch of Mexicans, white dudes, black dudes that play on the football team hanging out in the parking lot, and it's just like somebody saw it, called the cops, and it's just like,
and that's definitely one of the biggest issues in America, is that they're not willing to admit that we have an issue. We need to either train cops or be less tolerant to when these cops are making these huge mistakes. Like in one of those videos that I had listened to last night to put together that compilation, it said that African Americans are actually the smaller percent of drug users in America, but yet we are the highest percent of being caught with possession in jail. We always, if a black person is on trial, they will automatically get the minimum sentence. When whites are actually, they do not get the same treatment. And it's just one of those things where it just becomes such an issue. Because I remember in college, you have black clubs and you have white clubs in Gainesville. Predominantly black clubs, predominantly white clubs. And both of them are partying hard. Like, there is no difference. But, black people don't go home. We have what we call the let out. We're not doing nothing. We're just literally just chilling, like, just outside the club talking. And the only reason we're outside the club is the stop. We're just chilling. Exactly. You closing at 2:00. We're not done yet. So we're sitting out in the parking lot just having conversations. But in Gainesville, they have horse cops. So horse cops can hoard people better than cops, obviously, in a cop car. So outside the white clubs, and this only happened more towards when I was leaving, because it used to just be like the white clubs were just left alone, and then the horse cops would always be outside the black clubs saying, "Okay, guys, let's go, no loitering, da 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 da." And I mean, granted, we would just move to another spot, and we'd have the let out at Walmart where they can't really bother us because we're public. It's a public place, and we could possibly be shopping at Walmart. But every single time after the club, like if the club is over at 2:00. Those cops are sitting there at 1:50 getting ready to like, yo, you guys gotta go, you gotta go. Towards the end, like maybe my senior year, they started putting cop cars because it became an issue and students started to voice out. So they put cop cars, which of course, once again, a cop is not leaving his car. It's not the same as a cop on a horse. A cop in a car sitting there watching. So they did cop cars in front of the white clubs, but still horses in front of the black clubs because they still felt like we needed hoarding like animals. And it's always, they never see it as a depiction. Thank you. A depiction of their actual issues with race. They never look at it like that. They're just like, oh, well, you guys are rowdier. We are no rowdier than them. You just see us differently. Yeah. And it's become so frustrating because no matter how much you try to say, this is the issue, and you're looking at my race. You're not looking at what I'm doing. They're not seeing it. They're like, oh, no, it's not that. We're not racist. We're not racist. I hate when they say that. yo, just because you're not calling me the N-word doesn't mean you're not racist. You're using my color against me. And that's an issue.
People really don't like being called racist.
They don't.
Do this behavior.
Yeah. But just when you're talking about, that's definitely a problem in the UK as well. And one really, really clear example of that. We've got